Hey, welcome to the driving video for my E46 M3, which is currently for sale on Bring a Trailer. Now, I'm not going to drive as if we're on a racetrack because, of course, we are on a public road, but I am going to take the car for a spin and just try to give you a sense of what the car is like, give you a sense of reassurance that the car functions as it should, which it does, and also share a few thoughts that I have about the E46 M3 and about this car in particular. So I've been a BMW fan for a long time, and I've had the good fortune of owning and experiencing a few M cars. I had the E30 M3, which was sold on Bring a Trailer a couple of years ago, and I've also recently purchased another E30, but an E30 with an E46 M3 engine and transmission. And I've been fortunate enough to have this car, this E46 M3, for a few years now. And so one of the really neat things is that I've been able to get a sense of what the M3 range is like, and really have been able to experience where these cars fit relative to one another. And so, of course, everyone knows the E30 M3 story, and the E30 M3 story, which is very much reflected in the car, is that it's a homologation special. So it's a car which was really born and conceived on the racetrack and homologated for use on the road. Still the most successful touring car of all time. And that's a really, really great car. And it's a 4-cylinder car, 2.3 liters in the version that I had. They also built some 2.5 liter 4-cylinder cars. Very buzzy, very raw, very energetic, and very light and nimble, and you can really feel the road, as it were, in the E30 M3. Now, on the back of the success of the E30 M3, BMW decided to build the E46 M3. And of course, the E36 M3 was more capable in every way, objectively speaking. So more power, more torque, more comfort, also more room, more civilized. And that's where some people, especially in the US, where the engine was not quite as special as the European engine. It was an S52 engine derived from the standard 3 Series engine. Some people felt the E36 heritage of BMW and the specialness which makes an M car an M car. And certainly visually, this is a car which stands out. And it stands out in a very discreet way, a very elegant way, so that people who don't know cars may not really immediately think anything apart from, oh, that's a really nice BMW coupe. But people who know cars see immediately that there are very elegant and yet striking and important differences. So visually, the E46 M3 was quite distinct from the rest of the E46 range, and of course there's that power bulge in the hood, there's the blistered wheel arches front and rear, and these allow for a wider track and better cornering abilities. There's that very subtle lip spoiler in the back. There's the M double spoke wheels. And this car has the 18-inch M double spoke wheels, which I still think are the best wheels for the car. They offer the best combination of road feel and handling in my mind, as well as the quad tailpipes, the side kidney grills on each fender. And so this car really, for me, nailed that intersection visually between being something very special, very distinct, and yet being something elegant and classy. So, a few words about this particular car. So this is a two-owner car. I'm the second owner of the car. And the first owner of the car was a U.S. Army helicopter mechanic. Really lovely gentleman whom I had the pleasure of chatting with and interacting with a bit around the purchase of this vehicle. And so the first owner of this car, when he was an Army helicopter mechanic, was stationed in Germany as a young man, and at that time, for whatever reason, was not able to purchase one of these awesome German cars. Lots of servicemen did buy cars while they were stationed in Germany and brought them back, but he didn't have a chance to do that while he was stationed there. But it's something he always wanted to do, and so what he explained to me is that when he retired in his 60s, he bought this car brand new for himself as a retirement gift to himself. Great retirement gift. And so this gentleman took care of the car from new for 14 years, from 2002 until 2016. And it was delivered and remained in Michigan for that entire time, stored indoors during inclement weather, never driven in the winter, mileage averaging about 1,000 miles per year. And so in 2016, I purchased the car and imported it to Canada, and it's been in Canada in my possession since. We are going past the BMW dealership here. A few highlights in terms of the service. One of the things I really like about this car is that it had an early break-in oil change, and of course that's documented. It's actually in the Carfax. There was an oil change at a mileage just below about 1,400 miles, and to me, I really find great reassurance in that. I know that many manufacturers don't really recommend or require the break-in oil change anymore, but I think it's something which offers a great deal of insurance and peace of mind, and hopefully longevity for the life of any engine. And in this case, I do think it's a big cells leak down, all completely healthy and strong. Those are available in the gallery. So some of the big things which people think about when they're thinking about E46 M3s are, people think about the rod bearing issues in some of the early cars. This car did require the rod bearing recall to be performed, as well as the associated DME recalls. And one of the things that I like particularly about this car is that the rod bearing recall was performed quite early. So it was performed at about 4,500 miles. And I really like that because, again, from the point of view of reassurance, it gives me reassurance that that recall was performed really before anything could go wrong. And nothing has gone wrong. Some of the other kind of, big items that people think about with the E46 M3, people think about the subframe, the rear subframe, which in some cars is known to crack. And so this car has had the subframe inspected. There's photos in the gallery, and there are no issues with the rear subframe. Vanos can be a concern, and so this car has had the vanos inspected, and again, no issues with the vanos. There are some little issues, little cosmetic issues, which can be kind of, the thing just to look for. If you're looking at the E46 M3 or 3 Series, M5s also have some of these issues. One of them is that the mirror, this auto-dimming mirror, the fluid inside it can leak internally. And it doesn't leak out, it doesn't get on the interior of the car or anything, but it can leak internally, and then there's some discoloration and the mirror doesn't work properly. And so that did happen to this mirror, and so this mirror has been replaced with a new unit, and it now auto-dims and functions just fine. Another small issue, which some people will be aware of, is that cars with this particular trim, and I believe this is called the Titan interior trim, the door handle pull specifically can acquire just a little bit of a speckling on its surface, and that's most likely due to the fact that it's a door handle pull, and so it gets touched by hands. And so that was present on this car, and so I've replaced the door handle pull with a brand new unmarred door handle pull that's visible in the gallery. And actually, because I'm a little bit obsessive about the car, since I replaced it, I've been closing the door either using a cloth or by just gently using the pocket beneath the actual door handle pull. There's a plastic pocket. And any car, of course, on the planet which has cup holders can have the cup holders become scuffed, because lo and behold, people put cups in them. And so this car did have just, a little bit of normal scuffing in the cup holder, and so I replaced the cup holder just so that that part of the interior would really be in keeping with the rest of the interior in this car, which is really pristine. Unmodified, completely stock, with one very small exception, which is a very subtle tint. And of course, if tint is not your thing, that can come off, but the tint which is here is Formula One Pinnacle ceramic tint, 50% tint, and so quite light. It provides some temperature protection, but doesn't at all sort of stand out and shout that I'm a tinted car. And so, really, for me, one of the great things about having an interest in cars is that over time we get to be caretakers of these pieces of mechanical heritage, and hopefully we take good care of them and preserve them as they should be, which I believe and hope that I have done with this car. And in terms of where this car fits in that heritage, I think it's actually a pretty special place. And I say that because a lot of things are changing in terms of personal transportation, and I understand there's lots of good reasons for that. Of course, lots of vehicles are going electric. I have a Tesla as well, that's awesome. And then the remaining gasoline cars are mostly turbocharged or supercharged, and of course there are fuel efficiency advantages. With modern cars, there's a lot more electronics, there's a lot more infotainment, and the overall complexity of the experience has increased. And so I think those are some of the trends which are occurring, and I'm not saying that there aren't great cars being built right now, but those are some of the trends which are occurring and which are taking us away from a time when cars were more simply mechanical objects, and where there was a direct sense of mechanical connection between the driver and the vehicle. And I really think that this car was built and remains at the peak of that kind of arc, where it was very much about a machine which a human being could experience, and could experience as a machine. And I think this car really hit the apex of that curve, where cars did have this visceral sense of what they were. It did offer this kind of visceral experience, but at the same time were incredibly capable, and this car remains incredibly capable if you stack it up next to any modern car or a car that was built around the same time. And I think some of the particular things which we are going to be thinking about, and I think enthusiastic about as automobile enthusiasts, are the manual transmission, naturally aspirated engines, and understated performance. You know, these days, if you want to find a vehicle which has that combination of things, which say has a 6-speed manual, naturally aspirated, and is a capable sports car, there are not too many to choose from. You can think about cars like the Cayman GT4, which of course is a wonderful car, but it's a very specific kind of car. And I would suggest that there's not too many cars that offer those attributes, which also have the possibility of enjoying them day to day, if that is your wish, of putting 5 passengers in them, again, if that is your wish, of having really practical and totally usable luggage space, and at the same time having this completely analog, old world experience that can completely keep up with new world traffic and new world requirements for an automobile. And so I feel really, really lucky to have been able to enjoy this car as part of my history with cars, and I've done my very best to take great care of it, and I really hope that it finds a new owner who will also appreciate it and respect it and take care of it as I have. Good luck with the auction.